documents that would put lives at risk.
Yo, welcome back to the channel. Let's jump in.
John F. Kennedy's. Who did that?
It was done by William Harvey, who was the head of the CIA's assassination unit at that time. David Morales was directly involved in it. He likewise is the gentleman who Che Guevara down in Bolivia in '67, where they put him up against a firing wall. And I believe that because I saw, heard, and read a confession from E. Howard Hunt on a deathbed to his son. It was not a confession of remorse. He wanted the world to know that we helped you out. We Kennedy, this communist sympathizer. You're not going to convince me he could make those shots, because I tried them, and I'm an expert marksman. He wasn't. And work the fastest I could work the Mannlicher Carcano bolt was 8.5 seconds, and they're telling me he got 3 shots off in 6 seconds with that bolt action piece of crap weapon. I tried it. We simulated the whole thing. I couldn't do it. And I qualified expert at age 50 when I was governor of Minnesota.
Jesse Ventura is the man. I mean, I don't know what else you need to say there. Old school conspiracy guy. Big fan of Jesse. And I agree. I don't know that he's right on this one. I think there's a lot of compelling theories about JFK, but I mean, if you believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, I think you're crazy at this point. You need to go take a look at the evidence. A lot of things don't add up. A lot of suspicious activity and a lot of unanswered questions.
Flat Earth is the most curious conspiracy theory, because even though it's generally seen as a joke, so many people genuinely have this belief. So today, my question is, what do they even believe? Well, it all starts with this idea that the whole world is being deceived. The God of the Bible is real, and there's a force trying to keep you from him. But the reason why the shape of the earth matters is because to a flat earther, this changes the biblical narrative. See, if you change the shape of the earth and then add space into the mix, then suddenly angels become aliens. And looking up to heaven doesn't mean anything because you're on a globe. But what about NASA or the moon landing? I mean, don't we already know this stuff? Well, this is where the real conspiracy begins. Because flat Earth depends on NASA and space being complete lies. In this theory, NASA has faked the moon landing. All these space agencies are rather psyops, meant to reinforce this idea of an infinite vacuum. All of this just to remove God from the equation. Now, interestingly, if you translate the word NASA in Hebrew, you actually get the word to deceive, which is honestly kind of crazy. But now, my question is why? Why would they go to such great lengths to lie about this? Well, the answer is conveniently in Genesis 1, where it explains how God created a vault, a firmament to separate the waters below from the waters above. See, the idea here is that every time a rocket is launched, that rocket will only hit the firmament without ever breaking through. This is why people went crazy when a SpaceX rocket completely lit up the sky. It's because it looked like it was splashing around in water, or in this case, the firmament. If people saw this plainly, then of course they would believe in the Bible, but Satan has different plans. As long as humanity believes it's just alone in space, humanity will be far away from God. And in this theory, until the enemy changes strategies, this supposed delusion will go on and on.
The Earth isn't flat. It's a triangle. Think about it.
What 22-year-olds talk like this? So they released the exchange between Tyler Robinson and his roommate, and things don't seem to add up. So right before this is where Tyler tells his roommate to see a note that he left stating his intentions. I am still okay, my love, comma, but am stuck in Orem a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I come home, comma. What 22-year-old uses commas? I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. What, is this the Victorian era? What is going on? So his roommate says, I thought they caught the person, and then he says, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. So going off of this timeline, George Zinn was the person that was first thought to be a suspect. That was announced at 12:52. There was a person of interest being questioned, but that wasn't announced until 5:30 at a press conference by Governor Cox. So This text exchange couldn't have happened at least until close to like 6 p.m. So according to the feds, Tyler fled into the woods, changed his clothes, left the rifle, and then bounced. So they need a motive, of course, which is great because the next message asks, why did you do it? And Robinson replies with, I had enough of his hatred.
Yeah, similar to the JFK one, I think there's a lot of things don't add up with this one. A lot of unanswered questions, a lot of evidence that doesn't make sense. And I think when you see those types of red flags, that is what should be concerning and make you really question everything even more.
Yeah. It's crazy. I have otherwise completely rational friends who do not believe that the Challenger explosion was real. That's like their new thing. Yes. The number of conspiracies that actually hook now with otherwise basically reasonable people is staggering.
Have you ever looked at any, and I mean any post from NASA on Instagram and gone to the comments?
No. Can we do this?
Any fucking image, they're like, like they'll be like, there's people on the space station right now. Look at this image. And everyone's like, fake, AI, you guys are trying to fucking ruin, you're tricking us. This is bullshit. Who's buying the shit? Like thousands of comments for anything they
The
post.
word on the street is that NASA was founded by like a Satanist.
So I don't know if it was founded by this guy, but I think it's Werner von Braun was the first head of NASA. It's actually a former Nazi scientist that was brought over to the U.S. via Operation Paperclip. That's actually 100% fact. I don't know if he was a Satanist, but definitely former Nazi.
So there's this conspiracy theory going on that in like August, the gravity is going to turn off. They're saying like millions and billions of people are going to die. How? First of all, most of us are indoors. And if the fall from your ceiling to the ground kills you, you don't deserve gravity. Second, like, that's not even how gravity works. Like, you need to get propulsion to go up. Like, you're not going to float up. I mean, if you were a part of, like, the Olympic dive team, like, you might be kind of screwed. Other than that, though, just, like, relax. That's fine. Like, you're going to be fine. Also, that's not going to happen.
I love this one. I have heard about this a while ago. It's so funny. Like, it's like 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. I can't remember how long it is, but it's a very short period of time, and that just cracks me up. Like, but yeah, I mean, how crazy would that be if it actually happened? Like, what if you're just lying there one day and all of a sudden you start slowly floating? Like, what the hell? That would be pretty wild.
Hi, my name is Piss Fungus, and today I'm debunking stupid conspiracy theories. NASA uses wire and green screens. People don't move like this on wires. Also, how are things in the bag floating? How do they take the object out of the bag and it and the bag keep floating? Wires can't do that. What about water floating like orbs? Water and hair. Fire orbs. These floating animals. Wires cannot achieve that level of floatiness. The rocket curved and followed the firmament. The rocket's path curves because they're doing a translunar injection. A translunar injection is basically where they circle Earth and use Earth's gravity to slingshot them to the moon. I also saw some comments saying, I bet Apollo 11 didn't have to circle the Earth. I bet it just went straight up. It didn't. It did not go straight up. Water doesn't curve and can't spin on a curved surface. I don't know what they're talking about. Water is like the fucking curviest thing ever. Besides your mom. It does spin on a curved surface because gravity keeps it on. I get that y'all don't believe in gravity, so like, it's not that you don't, yeah. Next one, can't land on something that isn't solid. Apparently, some people believe that the moon is just a projected light in the sky, and their evidence is that when they see the moon during the daytime, they can see the blue sky in front of it. These people can vote, by the way. Let's dumb this down. Atmosphere surrounds Earth. Sunlight hit Earth atmosphere. Make sky blue. Atmosphere block view of moon. Blue in front of moon.
Yeah, sorry to the space is fake and flat earther folks out there, but everything he said made a lot of sense. I will admit that I have seen some interesting footage and photographs that look to be official NASA photographs, but they easily could have been faked. very easily could have been faked, and I didn't take the time to verify whether or not they were real and confirmed. But like, there's like pictures of people floating in the space station, and then like there's like a Starbucks cup or something, or like a glass of water and stuff like that. And some of those, I imagine, are probably fake. Although I do believe that famously there is a photograph that was actually released, confirmed to be released by NASA, of like a guy doing a spacewalk, and he's in the suit and everything. And then they were able to clearly demonstrate that that's actually a photograph or of someone in one of the pools doing a training exercise. And for whatever reason, it was released because of that. However, that doesn't mean that space is fake, or the moon is hollow, or a projection, or the Earth is flat, right? Like, be a number of reasons for why they faked that. Maybe it was a better photograph than what they had available that was real. And as far as the stuff from the moon footage goes, I think that that's probably likely fake. Like, did they really have the technology to have recordings of Armstrong from the moon transported back to Earth? That's wild. Did they have that technology in the 60s? Maybe they did. I'm not. It's beyond my knowledge. But if you told me that was fake, I would believe that. But again, they faked it because they wanted to televise it. It was about optics and propaganda. It was about the Cold War. It doesn't mean that they didn't actually go to the moon. That was a fun little mashup of a lot of different things. I will say the triangle thing is weird. Why did they all do the triangle thing? And the one eye thing, that's another one that a lot of celebrities do that I think is weird. I wonder if it's just them sort of trolling a bit. The other thing that's weird is the black eye. Like, why do so many public figures in positions of power, like what we would consider elites, randomly have black eyes? I'm almost 40 years old. I've never had a black eye in my life. That's wild to me. I don't know. Maybe I don't get out enough, but that one is weirder to me than the hand symbols. I think the hand symbols, you can kind of just understand that a little bit more in terms of culture and whatnot. But the black eye one is a little strange. Also, 1776. It's obviously also the founding of America. That's why it's on the dollar bill.
Intelligence agencies are very good at manipulation. If you wanted to recruit a brilliant scientist to work on exotic physics, how would you do it? You'd make him feel special, chosen, part of something bigger. The timing of that article about SRI is suspicious. It's either an incredible coincidence or was carefully orchestrated. And Hal Puthoff has been connected to disinformation agents like Richard Doty. Doty publicly admitted that Puthoff tried to recruit him for a disinformation campaign. And we know that Doty definitely worked for Puthoff.
This is from the Y-Files, great podcast. Unfortunately, that's not the greatest clip. Doty and Hal Puthoff. I've heard those names before, but I don't know exactly the story that they're talking about here. But I thought it was interesting because the points that they make about disinformation agents is 100% correct. It's been proven time and time again. It's been admitted by the government that they do this. I can't remember the name of the operation, but there's a famous operation or program done by the CIA where they got caught feeding news stories to the news media. And this is all above board. It's not a theory, it's a fact. And so these things are real. The other one that's real are the agent provocateurs, which go into protests and do something violent to give the government the excuse to respond violently so they can crack down on the protest. And you may not like hearing that about in the context of today's protests, fine, put that aside, but it's factually proven that it happened in the 60s with the Black Panthers and the Civil Rights Movement and all of this stuff. So these kinds of things are definitely happening, and you should be aware of that. This is maybe the wildest thing to me that was discovered in all the Epstein files that have been dropped in the recent years, is all the mentions of pizza and hot dogs and stuff like that. And people always quibble over, that doesn't prove anything. Right, I know, I'm not an idiot. I understand that this isn't the smoking gun, but what it does demonstrate is, and I think we've talked about this before, a culture, right? Like anyone who was born in the 90s or, who was young prior to recent times, right? Anyone from my generation or older remembers a time when, maybe you went and go smoke some pot and, it's illegal back then, and you used code words. You didn't walk up to someone and say, "Hello, sir, may I purchase some marijuana?" Right? You used a language that you both understood in lieu of the actual word, like pot, And so what I think we're seeing here is something like that. You're seeing a culture of using code words, right? Just like with counterculture, it's not just words, everything. Like I said, it's more than language, it's culture. It gets developed around this stuff, right? Including language, including behaviors, including all kinds of things. And so that's what I think we're seeing a piece of here, is a piece of the culture that is circling around these people. And it's very interesting that it's connected to an event that happened decades prior, and also is connected to language that was reported a long time ago by the FBI to be said to be code language for certain things. So the fact that we're seeing it rise here again, I think, is another piece of the puzzle, or a piece of evidence that makes the case a little bit stronger and makes these unanswered questions more and more important, and the thing that we should be hanging on to not let this go. Answer these questions. What are they talking about? Until we get a really clear answer about that, I don't think we should ever let this go.
They go to Epstein and they say, "Listen, buddy, you know that we know that you know that we know that we know what you're doing. And you know that we know that you know that we know that we can't do anything about it. Because you know that we know that you know that we know that you have all kinds of shit on all these people that would make this house of cards of our bureaucracy go." And you know that we know that you know that we know that the country you're working for and our government has a close relationship on a lot of other stuff. And so this shit can't come out. So here's the deal, buddy. Now you pay us a tax. You gonna do all this shit and whatever? We can't do it? All right. But you're doing it on our land. So if you're gonna keep doing it, you pay us a tax. And the tax is, we want information, we take it. Now they've made the unholy alliance. Now they've co-signed it. And if I were a betting man, I would bet very strongly on that having happened.
Yeah.
And it makes them complicit.
Yeah, I think that is likely a decent explanation of what went down, or a version of what went down with someone like Epstein. A character like Epstein, with the type of operation that he has, does not operate with impunity, completely under the radar of the intelligence community of the United States. That's just crazy. That's absolutely wild. I don't believe that for 1 second. Of course, they had some idea of what was going on. I mean, the Dade County Police Department knew what was going on to a certain extent. You're trying to tell me that the FBI and the CIA and the NSA and all these other intelligence agencies didn't know what was going on in their own backyard? That's crazy. You have to be wild. I mean, like, I have a hard time believing that, and no one has ever given me an argument that is at all believable for that piece of it, especially considering who he was meeting with, the fact that he's visiting the White House several times, the fact that he's hanging out with former and current presidents, and Congress people, and people within the scientific community who are involved in very high-end research with national security implications. I mean, grow up. If you think the government wasn't aware of this guy and had some idea of what he was doing, I think you're naive beyond belief, and you need to do a little growing up. Now, do they know every little thing and they're in on it and this, that, and the other? I don't know about that, right? Now, we can quibble over those details till the end of time. But they knew to a certain degree, which gets to the point of that Julian Dory is making here. This Julian Dory podcast. Go check him out. Phenomenal podcast. Really, really intelligent, well-educated guy. Great podcast to watch. Can't recommend it enough. Are they making a deal with Epstein? That's really the only conclusion that I can come to, is why else would they allow him to operate on U.S. soil the way that he did, unless he has something on all these people. But I don't see the people in power within the U.S. government just taking that lying down. I do think that even if he had some sort of, trump card, for lack of a better term, on all of these high-powered people that would bring the whole system down, they can't really do anything against them, I think they're still going to go to the guy and go, hey, we'll just whack you. We'll just whack you, buddy. I mean, Epstein, high-level guy, they're playing on a whole nother scale, right? And like, to think that the intelligence community doesn't have people unalived, I mean, that's crazy to me. So I think that's something that could always come to, so, hey, you're going to play ball. We'll continue to let you operate. We're going to look the other way. We're not going to make a big deal about this, but, we need information as well. So, and in my point of view, they're all kind of playing for the same team. There's power factions involved. I've talked about this a little bit, but I think he is playing for the U.S. and Israel, and they're kind of on the same team. So, I definitely see this one as extremely, extremely legitimate and compelling. The Epstein story is so complex, so layered, so in-depth and comprehensive, and one of the most compelling arguments that we have that's going on still to this day, as to us not having the whole story about how the real world operates on a geopolitical scale. And that's just wild. It's wild to have a front row seat to it. I think that's enough for today. I hope you guys enjoyed those ones. Some really interesting topics, I think, today. So I had fun with it. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Help me grow this thing out. We're still very much in the early days, so any support, any engagement is tremendously helpful, and I really, really appreciate it. Big plans for this channel. We're going to be building out different things, Discord, live streams, want to be watching documentaries with you guys. I really want to go into the stuff that's really, that I find really compelling. The more political conspiracies where we have some real evidence behind them. Stories like the Boys on the Tracks, stuff into 9/11, stuff into the JFK conspiracy, stuff into Iran-Contra. All of these conspiracies where we can learn from and sort of start building a base of knowledge that helps you sort of interpret stuff like the Epstein story that's happening right now. So all your help, all the engagement is really helpful towards building that future. And I can't thank you enough for any support at this stage of the process. So like I said, like, subscribe, comment down below, share this video with anyone you think might find it interesting. And we will be back tomorrow with another one. Thanks. See you then.